You want me to look at the camera or look at you?
You can look right here. That's
Okay.
fine. So obviously Kansas, a border state with Colorado, but a little different in some ways. I guess one issue is, do you have any ideas on, if you were president, gun reform?
So I recognize the importance of the Second Amendment, but I think that what we did in Colorado, we did universal background checks, and we went to the state of Colorado was doing background checks on 50% of the gun purchases, like many of the states, and we had 38 people convicted of homicide who tried to buy a gun and we stopped them. 133 people convicted of sexual assault tried to buy a gun and we stopped them. All in all, there were 3,000 people convicted of violent crimes. They tried to buy guns and we stopped them. Why not get to 100% of the gun sales and make sure that you're catching everybody? And I think since we passed that, you'll never know how successful something is, but it costs almost nothing. It's just when someone buys a gun, they spend $10 and they have to wait around 10 or 15 minutes. That's a small price to pay to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous criminals.
The second thing is, you mentioned, Kansas has this rural-urban divide, the Kansas City area and then all of western Kansas, and sometimes it plays out politically, but Kansas does have many counties that are losing population. Is there something a president can do to, you mentioned it in your talk, to sort of at least reinvigorate those rural areas?
Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of what we did in Colorado. We were able to create incentives for small businesses to open in rural areas, and I think we can do that with the big tech companies. A lot of them, especially these cloud companies, they need to be able to have 800 people, 600, 800 people, but they can do them in pretty big towns like Topeka, right? In other words, they can. He told me that they could pick 200 of the towns in America, and they could afford to have these pods of 600, 800 people in all these different cities, and really help revive. You get 2 or 3 different tech companies. What they need is a university or a community college where they can get the workers that have the skills they need to manage these robots, to be the technicians to fix them. And I think that's the real bottom line, is we're looking at a time where if we can get the skills, there'll be the jobs. And those jobs can be in rural areas as well as urban areas. Same thing, we also, we need broadband in every single city and town. It's not in every city and town in Kansas yet. I mean, to me, that's government malpractice.
Finally, last question. You mentioned you meet some Republicans who say maybe they're not big Trump fans, but he did the tax cuts. How do you convince that type of voter to vote for you or any Democrat?
Sure. So I asked them, because many of the people that say this are middle-class people. I say, well, are you actually any better? And they go, well, not really. It turns out that I didn't get a benefit from the taxes. When you add everything up, the tax cut didn't help me, and I didn't get this, I didn't get that. And I keep saying, I created the number one economy in the country. Colorado's been, according to U.S. News and World Report, the number one economy in America for 3 years straight. And I did it in such a way that everybody's going to get a benefit, right? We're going to grow the middle class. We're going to create the most pro-business state in America, but with the highest environmental standards, the highest ethical standards. You don't need to be anti-environment and anti-sustainability to have a strong economy. They actually go together. And you can create good jobs and actually have cleaner air and cleaner water at the same time. And that's what I tell these folks. President Trump is creating so much risk internationally. We turn the back on our allies. We have these tariff wars. We risk a crisis literally every week just so that he can be center of the stage, get attention. That's a risk that nobody wants to take. And then when you couple that with the fact that these tariff wars are hurting pretty much everybody up and down the food chain, it's not too hard to tell people they've got a better choice.
Thank you very much.
You bet.